Greetings to you, fellow viewers. I welcome you to your favorite channel, your channel of choice, the channel that gives you prophetic insight at each and every moment. I am glad because we are growing, we are booming, we are reaching out to a number of countries, and you'll be shocked, most of you, because you are coming to this channel and you are not aware of what is happening, what is in existence now. But you will notice that even from the reviews we are receiving from YouTube itself, it is alerting us that the viewership has exploded beyond measure. So what do you have to do? Make sure that if you haven't clicked subscribe to this channel, you do so now, because now is the time. There is no next time. The best time is now. Never procrastinate. Why? Because God himself, when he gives you an opportunity, he is saying exploit it now. Make sure you do so, and you invite others to subscribe to this channel, to keep in touch with us at every moment, because we love you, we care for you, we want to reach out to you as we continue doing. And also make sure that you contact us on the numbers that are showing on the screen, as well as visiting the website that you are seeing on the screen, www.prophetadvocatejoshua.com. This is our official website. So make sure that you do so, because we are a team. You are an intercessor. I am the voice. When I speak, you pray. You don't criticize. When I speak, you intercede. You don't criticize. When I speak, if you are my prayer partner, know this. When I speak, it is a bell unto you to begin praying. No need to criticize anyone. No need to attack anybody. We are family. We belong to the family of love. You notice that many people, when they hear about love, they don't even understand what is being talked about. Why? Because they don't have a revelation. Now, revelation comes to you as a word which is coming from God. But wisdom is revelation applied. Knowledge, ordinary knowledge, you never know. Many people now, they have got the ordinary knowledge which they can't utilize, which they can't use. They don't have revelation. They don't have the wisdom of God to apply what they have known. Now, you got to understand this. The concept of love is not just a concept. It is a word that defines God himself. So God himself, at his most basic understanding according to human knowledge, he should be understood in that context of him being love. He is Love. So if you can't operate in love, if you can't move in love, if you can't talk with love, if you can't address others with love, then God himself is not in you. Because love is God manifested. Love is God manifest. When you see love, you see God. You invite the presence of God. The quickest way to invite the Godhead to operate in your life is when you walk in love. And also know this. The conditio sine qua non to knowing God fully is when you understand God in the context of him being the one made of love, and also being love itself, being the creator of everything that you can see and everything that you can imagine. He himself not having been created, the uncreated creator, but being love, his fabric, so to speak, is love. His breath is love. When God walks, love moves. When God breathes, love is in the air. So his aura is love. Don't try to complicate him because he is love. So for many people, they don't understand this because they think, oh, God is this, God is that, God is that. Let me tell you this. Bible says, now faith, hope, and love abide. These three. But only love is the greatest of all these three. So you gotta understand that for as long as you have got the faith that can cause the dead to rise from the tomb, and you don't have love, you're the same as a clanging cymbal. Look at what 1 Corinthians chapter number 13 says. So even prophecies, they shall cease. Hear me and hear me very well. The prophecy you are seeing now is a reflection of a certain timing. There is a timing when you can't see a prophecy. Why? Because there will be none. The Bible says so in 1 Corinthians 13, prophecies shall cease. All right. Hope itself is a limited gift. You can have the gift of hope, you can have the gift of faith. But these gifts that I'm talking about, they are limited in as far as their scope is concerned, and even in their timing. All right, their extent. Bible talks about the length, the breadth, the width of love. All right, so you gotta understand that it is only love that is limitless. There is no way, brethren, that you can please God without love. There's also no way that you can claim to be a worshiper, a true lover of God without love. How many people have you given something? How many people have you assisted in life? How many houses have you built for another person? How many times have you donated to charity? How many people have you loved? On which points have you demonstrated the love of God? Bible says that if you love those who love you, what reward is it to you? True. How many of you have even attempted to forgive your enemy? You still know the kind of sin that your neighbor did 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago. You've got a relative that you're not talking to for the past 20 years. Is that forgiveness? No, that's not love. Yes, it isn't. A true reflection of love encompasses forgiveness. I was teaching my congregation last Sunday, and I was teaching them about the precepts of love. And we had some of our international visitors from Jamaica. You mentioned it, and you could tell that they are understanding the concept of love, not in its natural sense. All right, not in terms of Philadelphia. No, I'm not just talking about the Philadelphia sense of love. I'm talking about love as agape, the agape kind of love. Not that one where you have got your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your relationships. Most of those, they are conditional. You notice, you know that from your personal experience, that you see many people let you down. But when I talk about love, this is what defines God. Agape. Is your love unconditional? Answer this question in your own mind. You will notice in most cases it will be no. It's not conditional. But sometimes you'll find it will be yes, it's conditional. 50-50. Other people have got limited love, and that's not agape. Doesn't matter what a person has done against you. You ought to forgive. You ought to love them nonetheless. So get this. If we are to talk about love, it is what manifests the gift of the prophetic. If you want to prophesy now, this is one code that I'm giving you now. You ought to be able to love your neighbor, love everybody, and the prophetic will be a result of the love that will be operating and operational in your life. To manifest a word, to manifest the prophetic, you ought to move in love. So when we prophesy, most politicians don't understand, and even some individuals, because when you prophesy about a prophecy which is in favor of the opposition, they will say, "Oh, you love the opposition." When you prophesy and give a prophecy that is pro the ruling party, they say, "Oh, you love the ruling party." Listen to me. In prophecy, when delivering it, you occupy a seat, but in this seat is emblazoned the spirit of somebody who is disinterested. Now, get me right. Now I'll be seeing, and I'll be seeing in the realm of the spirit, that there is this haggling amongst parties. Everybody wants to be on top. This one says I'm correct. This one says you're wrong. This one says I'm correct. 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 And now you've got two camps. And these camps now, they start to operate at a totally different dimension where opposition and attacks are the order of the day. Now, you ought to notice one thing. The point that they argue about would be a central feature in the spirit which God has already answered. So, how do parties then argue about a thing that God has already spoken about? You wonder. The prophetic is there to give direction. And if I'm to give direction to these two opposing parties from one party, the prophecy would be simple. You already know it. But what causes individuals now to argue about something that God has already spoken about? It's called recalcitrance. But the word of the Lord does not change. It is not changing. If it does, the prophet would have appeared and said, "Oh, the Lord has reversed his previous position." But what does God say in this time? Which of these two factions is correct? Which of these two camps is correct? It's obvious. When you look at prophetic dimensions, one thing you have to notice is they're different. I sit in a position where God has already allowed me access. So when I access the future, when I access spiritual material, the material of the spirit, the flesh of the spirit, and you look at it like this, you then see that there are particles there. And when you analyze them, you then realize that these particles are in favor of another faction. And this faction, whatever it says, it's not saying it in accordance to a word of the prophetic. They are saying it in accordance to a word of the carnal. But they don't know that what they're saying in their carnal state is actually in accordance with the word of the prophetic. What does the word of the prophetic say? It doesn't say be violent. It also doesn't say fight. No, it doesn't say so. So when you go on the street, one thing you have to notice is you are trying to cause that which has already happened to happen, but not in the manner that you expect it to happen. No, no, no. I spoke about it many, many months ago. Before all this noise, and I said, second term is not sanctioned by the Spirit. Why? Because there are attacks there. So this is not new. For all of you who have been following this channel, we are the first to talk about this noise. Remember, I spoke about it even a year ago, 2 years ago, and I said, second term will be full of snakes. You remember the snake prophecy? So I know what I'm talking about because I'm speaking as per the word of the Lord. There is a problem there. So if people are going to listen to the prophetic, this is the time to be listening to the prophetic. Unless if people want to walk with the carnal eye. So sometimes, even if the prophetic speaks, who are you now to try and speed up the prophetic when the prophetic has already spoken? Some of these things, trust me, they need no human effort. Trust me. And I speak to each and every faction involved. Don't speed up the process of God. What he says is law. He's supreme. He is supreme. So I said, if you look at the prophetic calendar in as far as Zimbabwe is concerned, third term has not been sanctioned by God. So when there is no spiritual sanction, what do? Do you then say to yourself, I have to cause it not to happen? Or you say to God, Father, you have already spoken. So having already spoken, what do I do now? What do I do? He himself, it means he has a plan. Men can plow, but God gives the harvest. People can read, but God gives the result. What is happening? How many people have tried to have kids? They don't have still. Why? Human effort vis-a-vis God's plan. So you gotta understand this in this context, that the prophet has already spoken, and so there is no need to fight physically. God himself has got a plan that he has. Am I saying that there will not be fights? There will be. Of course, yes, they've already begun. But what I'm saying here is, in accordance to the word of the prophet, extra effort is not even necessary because God himself has already spoken. So, do we sit down on our laurels and watch? I, as a prophet, I will. Could it be that these people who will be doing whatever they're doing, they're also part of God's plan? Let's wait and watch. I told you and I spoke. I said to you, the prophetic can only be in part. It can only be in part. So when I see I have to deliver it as it is, all right, where I come to deliver prophetic correction, like this is what I'm doing. I'm drawing parameters here so that each and every one of these factions knows their boundaries. All right, I'm trying to set up boundaries here, prophetic boundaries. I didn't see anywhere where God told me personally that the third term has been sanctioned by heaven. In heaven, that third term is not having a seal, a stamp of the heavenly. I've already spoken about it. So in trying to come up with these prophetic repetitions, what am I doing? I'm adding flesh to the bone. So that somebody who hasn't been understanding where we are coming from gets to appreciate the context, the text, and the purpose of the prophetic, or in the specific prophecy that would have been delivered. So this is me, PAJ. I thank you for having been part of this broadcast. I say to you, the prophetic is real. The prophetic is right at your doorstep. We are ready to reach out to you. Don't forget to click subscribe and to follow us on all of our social media platforms. It is adios unto you. God bless you.